Obama success. And you're all good at grassroots democratic work. But what has changed in this state, and I've looked at numbers, is that President Obama came forth with an impressive coalition. He didn't win. I mean, there were still some of those Hillary-Obama differences here in South Texas that maybe would have increased his numbers. But what Senator Obama did before he became president is he built a coalition here in Texas of young, of minorities, primarily Hispanic and African American, of women, and independents. That gave him a very respectable number. And I believe what needs to happen here in Texas is a way to keep those voters that had not voted before, but voted for Obama, keep them in the Democratic column. I think that is objective number one. Now, before I go into a lot of the issues that I want to talk about, believe me, I know that a good politician before dinner doesn't give a long speech, so no voy a durar mucho. No más 2 o 3 horas. But I wanted to talk about Solomon Ortiz. You know, we came to Congress together, 1982. And we were then young. We were then idealistic. He went on the Armed Services Committee, Merchant Marine Committee. I went on the Energy. And in our early friendship, we said, Solomon, I'll work on your energy issues because here in Corpus, obviously, you've got renewable energy, you've got refineries, you've got oil and gas. And I'll try to help you on your fisheries issues, shrimp, coast, whatever it is that you need. And I remember early on, Solomon would come to me and start talking to me about the migratory pattern of the shrimp. And I said, Solomon, tell you what, I'll vote for the shrimp, but don't tell me about the migratory patterns. I'll be with you. We'll work together on energy. But what I always remember about Solomon Ortiz was he had this reputation. He was a sheriff, obviously, you know this. The most grassroots politician. He attended every event. They said that Solomon would attend your funeral if he could get votes. And he was the kind of grassroots leader that knew everybody. And I was at one point the chief Democratic whip. And my assignment was to collect votes, to get the Democratic agenda passed in the House. And we always used to worry that if after 5 o'clock on Thursday, we had a serious vote, that we'd miss Solomon because he wanted to be back home. So we'd sometimes schedule votes right before 5. But he was somebody that loved his community, that came back here a lot. Obviously, I landed at the Solomon Ortiz Airport. I'm in a Solomon Ortiz hotel, or the Solomon Ortiz International Center. So he's obviously done great work for you. Now, as somebody that is entering the last year of my second term, I'm term limited. I'm gone for a while. But when you engage in politics, and I've been in Congress, the United Nations, Energy Department, Governor, you try to give a little bit of lessons learned. And this is what I think is important as we all approach this election coming up in November, almost a little less than a year. And it's the advice I would give to anybody that is willing to listen. So what is that political advice? And then I'll talk a little bit about issues. Number 1, focus on the basics. Focus on grassroots politics, on door-to-door, on voter registration. Voters want to see you, even though we're in this era of technology and television. They want to touch you, not just as a candidate, but as a worker. And I know many of you go out there and try to get these votes. Try to connect with the basics. They say, you know, if you look at some of these experts, that the age of grassroots politics and parades is over. You know, one of my biggest pride in my political career is I own the world's handshake. 8-hour period, 13,000 hands at the New Mexico State Fair. Of course, I ordered just one door so I could get everybody. But that is number one. Number two, as part of that grassroots effort, remember that politics is changing, and here's where Democrats have an advantage. We're in the age of the internet, Facebook, Twitter. We're in the age of new communication, especially the young. Don't be averse to that. Embrace it. Because this is an advantage for Democrats. This is an advantage because more issue-oriented people are Democrats that block. This is statistical. I'm not making this up. So embrace that new technology, which I believe is critically important. Number three, what do you focus on now that is important? Redistricting. Redistricting. Who serves in the legislature? I know Abel's here, and Solomon Jr. and Chewy. Who serves in the legislature, who serves in Congress, is determined by redistricting. It's ponderous work, it's numbers. But anything that the Democratic women and the Democratic Party can do to focus on representation of women and minorities, and Democrats, having equal voices, and not having those that suppress minority voters, that is critically important. But it's laborious, and it takes time. Number three, Texas. You're a huge state. God, you're big. It's maybe 4 states in one. And you're different, but you're diverse, and it's good, and you're powerful. And you have a lot of talent in so many areas, the arts, culture, America's immigrant community, the border, Latin America. I think it's important that Democrats, one of the things I've noticed is Democrats, maybe in this county, don't talk enough to Democrats in El Paso. And there are a lot more there, or Dallas or Houston. Maybe a way that we can find redistricting and issues relating to organizing more effectively by coming together. And you're a huge state. I mean, I've said this in California, and sometimes people laugh at me. San Diego and Sacramento. But I think it's so important if we're going to make this state blue. Diversity. Diversity is good. One of the reasons I believe I've been a successful governor is half of my cabinet are women. Half of my cabinet are minorities. We need to have more women run for office. We need to encourage women to take more leadership positions in politics. By the way, I noticed there are a lot of judges here. I want you to know I am being driven by a Texas state trooper. Joey's talking about my speeding, so that is not the case here in Texas. But I wanted to just say that I think it's critically important that that diversity, that inclusiveness, that ability to work together in the many regions that Texas has is something that will pay off in the future. Number 5. Out in this country and out in every state, there's a very strong anti-incumbency feeling. It's not anti-Democrat, it's not anti-Republican. Because of the economic downturn, because people are down. If you're an incumbent, be careful. So anybody here that is boosting the campaigns, and we've got a lot of candidates